Gen Zs are reshaping the world. Youth generation shares their fresh perspective on what's trending now. From global developments to everyday culture, we're diving into the stories that matter. This is Youth Generation.
도시는 세계와 연결되어 문화를 창조했고 새로운 것을 받아들였다.
함께여서 우리는 더 자유롭고 더 멀리 갈 수 있어.
닫힌 문이 아니라 열린 질문으로
나에게 에이펙은
자유,
융합,
국제성,
다양성,
포용,
개발.
신라의 정신이 에이펙 2025로 이어집니다.
and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. The Israeli government has approved a U.S. brokered ceasefire resolution, which includes the release of all hostages held in Gaza. Israelis and Palestinians celebrated the potential end to the war, with U.S. President Donald Trump saying Israeli hostages will likely be released early next week. A South Korean activist was seized by the Israeli military while approaching Gaza, and President Lee Jae-myung has now ordered officials to use utmost diplomatic efforts to secure the activist's prompt release. North Korea is set to hold a major military parade, most likely tonight, to mark the 80th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. Eyes are now on what kind of weapon systems will be on display at the event, which is expected to be attended by the second highest ranking officials from China and Russia. We begin this morning in the Middle East, where the first phase of a U.S. brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has now been officially approved by Israel's government, marking a breakthrough after 2 years of war in Gaza. Now, the deal promises the release of all remaining hostages and an end to fighting, but questions remain about what comes next. Our Muniran starts us off.
Israel's government has approved a ceasefire resolution that includes the release of all hostages held in Gaza, both the living and the remains of the dead. The vote came late Thursday night local time, clearing the way for the first phase of U.S. President Donald Trump's peace plan to take effect. Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner attended the meeting, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu personally thanked them for their work.
We know that it's for the benefit of Israel and the United States, for the benefit of decent people everywhere, and for the benefit of these families who will finally get to be with their loved ones.
Trump said the release of hostages could happen soon and hinted at a visit to the region as early as Sunday.
I think it's the hostages will be coming back Monday or Tuesday. I'll probably be there. I hope to be there.
Under the deal, Hamas will free all remaining Israeli hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Israeli troops will begin withdrawing from parts of Gaza, and fleets of trucks carrying food and medical aid will surge into the territory, with the United Nations declaring full support. But implementation of the plan raises difficult questions about what comes next, including whether Hamas will disarm, how a full Israeli withdrawal will unfold, and who will govern Gaza once the fighting stops. To help oversee those next steps, AP News reported that U.S. officials said a new coordination center is being established, staffed by about 200 American service members with expertise in logistics, transportation, security, and engineering. A senior defense official reportedly said no American troops will enter Gaza, but they'll help monitor the ceasefire's implementation and the transition into a civilian administration in the territory. Celebrations and praise poured in from around the world, including South Korea. In a statement issued by its foreign ministry spokesperson, Seoul said it highly values President Trump's leading proposal for this agreement, as well as the mediation efforts of neighboring countries in the region. It also pledged to actively participate in international efforts to promote peace in the Middle East. 문혜련, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung has ordered his officials to make the utmost diplomatic efforts for the prompt release of a South Korean activist who was seized by the Israeli military while approaching Gaza. His spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung told reporters on Thursday that Lee was briefed on the situation yesterday evening. The Israeli military reportedly intercepted a flotilla of 11 aid boats in the Mediterranean Sea near Gaza on Wednesday, Korea time, and detained the activists aboard, including a South Korean national. On Thursday, Second Vice Foreign Minister Kim Jin-ah met the Israeli embassy's Deputy Chief of Mission, Barak Shine, in Seoul, during which the Israeli diplomat vowed to cooperate for the safety and swift release of the detainee. And shifting gears, North Korea is planning to hold a massive military parade celebrating the 80th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. And marking the occasion, top officials from China, Russia, and Vietnam arrived in the North Korean capital to take part in the event. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
North Korea is expected to hold a massive military parade in Pyongyang's Kim Il-sung Square to mark the 80th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. There had been speculation that the parade would take place last night on the eve of the anniversary, but so far there has been no official confirmation that the event was held. Attention is focused on what new weapons North Korea may unveil during the parade. The regime previously announced it was developing a new solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile known as the Hwasong-20, sparking speculation that it could make its debut in this anniversary event. If revealed, the Hwasong-20 would represent a major advancement in North Korea's missile technology, as solid-fuel ICBMs can be launched more quickly and are harder to detect than traditional liquid fuel systems. The parade is expected to feature high-ranking foreign guests, including top officials from China, Russia, and Vietnam, highlighting North Korea's deepening ties with its key partners. China's Premier Li Chang, the country's #2 after President Xi Jinping, arrived in Pyongyang on Thursday, marking the first visit by a Chinese premier to North Korea in 16 years. Russia has also sent a high-level delegation led by Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, who is often described as the country's second-in-command. In addition, Vietnam's Communist Party chief To Lam arrived in Pyongyang for a state visit, the first by Vietnam's top leader since 2007. According to the Vietnam news agency, Lam and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un held talks and agreed to strengthen cooperation, elevate bilateral relations, and expand high-level exchanges across party, government, and regional levels. Pundits say the presence of top figures from China, Russia, and Vietnam signals North Korea's intent to showcase solidarity with its traditional allies at a time of growing geopolitical tensions. The parade would not only mark a milestone in the Workers' Party's history, but also serve as a powerful display of North Korea's military capabilities and its strengthening diplomatic ties with Beijing, Moscow, and Hanoi. 이승재, Arirang News.
So as we just heard, North Korea's ruling party turns 80 this week, and all eyes are now on the military parade it'll hold in Pyongyang. For more on this, we're joined today by Brian Myers, Professor of International Studies at Dongsa University. Professor Myers, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So China's Premier Li Chang is in Pyongyang, and he's the highest level Chinese official to visit North Korea since 2019. What do you think his appearance at North Korea's military parade signals?
Well, the fact that the #2 is going to be watching a parade of weapons, many of which are expressly designed for attacking the United States, sends a much stronger signal of unity than if he were just making a routine diplomatic visit. 10 years ago, a member of China's Politburo attended a parade in Pyongyang where they showed a mock-up of a planned ICBM, but this time it's the premier who's going, and there will be displays of very real advances of ballistic technology. Now, I think on the one hand, China wants to renew the alliance, wants to keep Kim from drifting too deeply into Russia's sphere of influence, but China is also showing Trump it's not going to join any U.S. initiatives aimed at discouraging North Korea's arms program. That stuff is over. On the other hand, this doesn't mean that Beijing is just kind of cheering on Kim to do whatever he wants, because this visit may well be aimed also at kind of guiding and restraining Kim so that he doesn't go too far with missile provocations.
Right, and as for Russia, the deputy chairman of Security Council, and he's also the former Russian president, Dmitry Medvedev, is also expected to be there. This comes after China's military parade in Beijing last month, where we saw Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping, and Vladimir Putin standing side by side. Will North Korea try to use this week's military parade as a chance to sort of show off its close ties with China and Russia?
Well, visits of foreign VIPs have always been central to the regime's propaganda. In the old days, it told its people the whole world looked up to Kim Il-sung as a great genius. So every delegation was hyped up as if it were a tributary visit. Things are different now. People have more awareness of the outside world. But that's all the more reason why they want to see confirmation that North Korea's two big allies are standing by it and showing it respect. And last month, of course, they saw Kim treated in Beijing as the virtual equal of Xi Jinping and Putin. And while these two visitors now are not quite as high-ranking, it's still very good optics for the regime and its domestic propaganda.
Right, and the primary purpose of North Korea's military parade is to showcase its weapon systems. You mentioned that some of them will be, aimed at countering the United States. What can we expect to see on display this time?
Well, they're going to show a whole range of what they got because really Kim is trying to arm his way out of sanctions. Now, not to get too technical, but as your reporter already said, the star of the show is certainly going to be the Hwasong-20. So the solid fuel ICBM that can be rolled out and launched very quickly. It can carry multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles or MIRVs to pretty much anywhere in the United States. Then there should be a short-range ballistic missile with a hypersonic glide vehicle, and that's a weapon that's perhaps even more worrying from a South Korean perspective. Experts are also reckoning with displays of drone technology, stuff that may have been developed with Russian assistance, and also a display of air defense hardware. And all of this is going to be watched really closely in Washington and Seoul, because if anything new is shown, it's very likely to be tested in the weeks ahead.
Right, and the nominee to be the Pentagon's senior official for the Indo-Pacific region, John No, recently said South Korea's defense capabilities could help deter threats from China. And he also mentioned that the United States must work with allies like South Korea and ask them to significantly boost their own defense spending. What's your take on this? What could this mean for South Korea?
Well, it's no big surprise because we've known for some time now that America no longer regards South Korea just as a country to be defended against North Korea, but it wants it to become a partner in containing China, and it wants the Lee administration to increase defense spending to that end. Now, South Koreans are used to President Trump demanding that they spend more to defend themselves from North Korea, but all this talk about turning South Korea into a kind of aircraft carrier to be used against China has not been going down well here at all. China is a big trade partner. Its tourists are spending a lot of money here these days, and now the same Trump administration that is pushing South Korea to the wall over trade tariffs is asking Seoul to spend more money to contain China. This is really unpopular with President Lee's voter base, with the left-wing media here, and I think even conservatives have some reservations. So I would expect in the months ahead a certain amount of tension between Washington and Seoul in regard to this issue.
Right, I guess we'll have to see how that goes. All right, Professor Myers, thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
South Korea's foreign exchange reserves increased by more than $5.7 billion at the end of September, supported by higher investment returns and rising foreign currency deposits at financial institutions. According to the Bank of Korea on Friday, the country's reserves stood at $422.02 billion at the end of September, up $5.73 billion from a month earlier. The figure has now risen for 4 straight months after dropping to a near 5-year low in May. A central bank official said the growth was mainly due to stronger investment income and quarter-end inflows into foreign currency deposits. By asset type, securities such as government and corporate bonds increased by $12.25 billion, while holdings in IMF special drawing rights and gold reserves remains unchanged. And South Korea celebrated Hangeul Day on October 9th, a national holiday dedicated to the creation of the Korean alphabet. And to commemorate the occasion, people from many different countries gathered to try Korean calligraphy together. Our Park Hyubin was there.
Slow, deliberate brushstrokes flow across sheets of paper, making the shapes of the Korean alphabet Hangeul. To mark Hangeul Day, participants from around the world attended an event at the Yeonnam Global Village Center, which supports foreign residents in adjusting to life in Seoul, to experience Korean calligraphy together. They said it was the perfect opportunity to experience writing Hangeul and share the spirit of Hangeul Day.
I am studying Korean now, and since it is Hangeul Day, I joined this event to practice a bit. It was really fun.
Normally, I don't pay much attention to my handwriting and just write quickly, but this time I focused more, and it felt like I was drawing rather than just writing Hangul.
Every October 9th, Korea commemorates the invention of Hangul by King Sejong back in the 15th century. In the Hunminjeongeum manuscript, King Sejong wrote that he created the new writing system because it was painful to see the people using borrowed Chinese characters that do not match the Korean language or convey people's intentions properly. Hangul is now regarded as one of the most scientific and easy-to-learn writing systems in the world. Hangul's story and legacy continues to be written, not only by Koreans, but now by people from around the world.
Many people enjoy K-pop these days, but traditional culture like this also holds deep meaning. By writing Hangul, foreigners feel a deeper connection to Korea and greater affection for its culture.
Through calligraphy, visitors are not just writing letters, but also sharing the meaning of Hangul Day. 박효빈, Arirang News.
In other news, Haenyeo, a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity, are being reborn in a virtual reality game. But what's interesting about this is that the game is being produced by a foreign game developer, not Korean, through her learning about the female divers' lives on Jeju Island. Our Hangeul has a story.
A diving test is underway at the Haenyeo School, an institute that aims to pass on the female divers' culture to a younger generation. Karen Strizinger, who is working on creating a virtual reality game with a Haenyeo as the main character, is also putting in a lot of effort. She became interested in Jeju Island and the Haenyeo culture after adopting an abandoned dog from Jeju Island. Strizinger is learning how Haenyeo dive to harvest shellfish to specifically incorporate their culture into a game she is producing. The reason why she's creating the game is to promote and preserve Haenyeo culture.
I thought the Haenyeo were amazing role models and environmental stewards, and I wanted to help share that with the world.
The game is basically about the process by which the main character becomes a Haenyeo on Jeju Island after quitting her job. Game users can virtually experience Haenyeo diving in the game. Strizinger hopes that through the game, people will develop an interest in the restoration of ecosystems that are being endangered by climate change.
I think we can use storytelling through games to help teach people about how you might restore ecosystems.
This game received widespread attention at Unity for Humanity 2024, which awards funding, technical support, marketing, and other resources for creators seeking to make the world a more inclusive and sustainable place for all. Jeju Island is expecting that the game for the young generation could spread Haenyeo culture to the world. The game is set to be released early next year, and a portion of the proceeds will be donated to preserve Haenyeo culture. 차윤경, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. Hungarian writer László Krasznahorkai has been awarded the 2025 Nobel Prize in Literature for his powerful explorations of modern chaos and the human spirit. The Swedish Academy praised him as a master of the long form, capturing the struggle between hope and despair. Born in Hungary in 1954, Krasznahorkai first gained international acclaim with Satantango and The Melancholy of Resistance, which were both adapted into films. Critics call his work haunting and lyrical, blending realism and philosophy to question how people endure uncertainty. In a statement, he said the prize, quote, belongs to everyone who still believes in language. The Nobel Committee will announce the Peace Prize later this week. And in the U.S., the government shutdown enters its 9th day, with President Donald Trump declaring he will restore operations only after removing programs favored by Democrats. Around 750,000 federal workers remain furloughed or unpaid. Essential services from transport to food assistance are under strain. Trump says he'll cut funding from green energy and urban aid while keeping military spending intact. Democrats accuse him of weaponizing the budget for political gain, While markets have reacted mildly, analysts warn prolonged closure could slow fourth quarter growth. Talks will resume on Friday as both parties face pressure from both public workers and investors. In India, police have arrested the owner of a pharmaceutical company after a cough syrup was linked to the deaths of at least 21 children. The victims, all under 5 years old, died in Madhya Pradesh over the past month after being prescribed the cough syrup known as Coldriff. Investigators found it was contaminated with diethylene glycol, a chemical used in antifreeze that can be fatal even in small amounts. Police have arrested the owner of Coldriff manufacturer Srezin Pharma, charging him with culpable homicide and drug adulteration. India's health ministry has banned the syrup in several states and ordered wider testing of children's medicines. The World Health Organization has asked whether contaminated batches were exported abroad, as children in Gambia and Uzbekistan have died from Indian-made cough syrup in the past. And in New York, more than 250,000 fans are flooding into Comic-Con 2025. And this year, K-Content is taking center stage. Attendees packed the gov't Center dressed as their favorite characters. Organizers expect about 250,000 visitors over the 4 days, celebrating everything from comics and anime to gaming and wrestling. And Korea's presence is unmistakable as a new K-Content Pavilion showcases hits webtoons like Solo Leveling and True Beauty alongside the voice cast of K-pop Demon Hunters.
The long Chuseok break is officially over, but the rain that put a dampener on our vacation is not done with us yet. Those of us in the central regions are seeing constant rain all day today. The showers will spread to the Chungcheongdo provinces this afternoon. And until Sunday, northern Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do province could see 20 to 60 millimeters. The capital area and the rest of the country might get up to 40 millimeters. Meanwhile, if you're in the southern part of Korea, you will enjoy sunny skies on the warm Friday. Afternoon highs in Jeju will be 10 degrees higher, topping out at 28 degrees this afternoon. So those traveling north to south or the other way around need to take the weather into account and do dress accordingly. For a closer look, Seoul and Chuncheon will be only getting up to 18 degrees Celsius under soggy skies, but Gwangju will get up to 27 degrees under bright skies. Looking ahead, do expect more rain under gloomy skies through early next week. However, top temperatures will rise higher than today's afternoon highs.
Now that's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
저는 만 5살에 바이올린을 시작했는데요. 바이올린 소리를 워낙 좋아했어서 그 특유의 따뜻함과 약간 사람의 목소리 같은 목소리를 갖고 있거든요, 바이올린이. 저는 무대에 올랐을 때보다는 이제 혼자 연습할 때 더 큰 희열을 느끼는데 제가 표현하고자 하는 음악이 잘 나왔을 때 그때 가장 큰 기쁨을 느끼는 것 같아요. 그래서 저만의 색깔을 어떻게 하면 찾아갈 수 있을까 그걸 제일 많이 고민하는 것 같아요. 아무래도 연습을 할 때는 이제 생각과 고민을 많이 하는 반면에 무대에서 연주할 때는 정말 머릿속을 비우고 아무 생각도 안 하려고 하는 것 같아요. 무대에서는 자유롭게 콩쿨 무대도 저만의 독주라고 생각하는 자세를 가지려고 하고 있어요. 사실 바이올린과는 거의 제 인생의 대부분을 같이 해왔기 때문에 저를 힘들게 할 때도 많지만 제가 가장 사랑하고 아끼는 존재입니다. 작곡가가 전달하고 싶은 메시지와 또 제 자신이 관객들에게 전달하고 싶은 메시지를 모두 다 설득력 있게 잘 전달할 수 있는 그런 연주자가 되고 싶습니다.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Friday, October 10th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Chunyeon. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Also, Kyun's with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we've already reached the end of the work week, and this one feels extra special. After all, we only had to come in for one day this week. So after such a long Chuseok holiday, it's been a while since we've all been in the office, and I think we've all still working on getting back into work mode. It's kind of week that makes you appreciate a short work week even more, giving us a little extra time to slowly ease into getting back into our usual routine. So I have to ask though, Jihyun, how did you spend your time off? What did you get up to during the break?
Well, I had some great quality time with my family. It felt like good connection, good relationship with my relatives and with everybody. You know, because the holiday was quite long this time, we had more than 7 days. I even managed a short family trip to Sokcho in the middle of the week, in the middle of the Chuseok. So, you know, Chuseok, after all, the Thanksgiving holiday, is Korea's autumn harvest festival that we do here. Traditionally, a time to honor ancestors and celebrate abundance. Normally, it lasts at least 3 days or 4 days sometimes, but this year, public holidays combined to give us a full week off. So it was a rare chance to slow down a little bit, share meals with other people and their stories, of course. So coming back now, I feel refreshed, grateful, and ready to dive back into work with renewed energy with you guys.
So it did sound like you had a lot of good family time in Sokcho as well. So how was your break?
This break seemed very long and short at the same time, but thank God today is Friday. Looking forward to the weekend again. But it was an awesome Chuseok holiday for me. It was a very highly anticipated holiday because it was so long. So I'm sure a lot of people took this opportunity to travel abroad. But for myself, I took the time to really take a good rest from work and just to relax at home and pretty much not do much. But during Chuseok, I did meet my family and relatives, nephews and nieces. It's always a great time to gather all together in just one place because nowadays we don't really get to see each other as often as we did like long time ago in our past generations. But it was a great opportunity to, you know, catch up and, you know, just have great traditional Korean food and just to have a great conversation. And just before it became too long when we started having conflicts, but we'll talk about conflicts very soon.
So we'll get into that. So like you said, holidays like these give us a chance to slow down, get together, really catch up. So I'm personally lucky to live close to my grandparents, but even then, I don't actually get to see them very often. So this holiday did feel extra special. But of course, even though we love our families, gatherings aren't always picture perfect. So let's take a look at the screen to find out more. Holidays are a great chance to reconnect with family and friends, but we all know that family gatherings can sometimes bring out moments that we'd rather forget, comments that can spark misunderstandings or tension. And as family structures change with more people choosing not to marry or live independently, the kinds of conflicts that come up during these gatherings are evolving as well. Today on News Generation, we'll explore the family conflicts that arise during the holidays, how the types of conflicts that occur have changed over time, and most importantly, how we can navigate and overcome them. As we just saw in the video, family conflicts tend to come up more often during the holidays. From small misunderstandings to bigger clashes, these gatherings can bring a mix of joy and tension. So Jihyun, what are some examples of the kinds of conflicts we usually see during these holiday get-togethers?
Yes, well, recently one of the most talked about tensions during the Chuseok holiday online, it centers on how unmarried or child-free relatives are expected to give pocket money to their nieces and nephews during the holidays. Well, in the past, most people had children too. So it was quite fair enough. It felt fair, but now many feel pressured, burdened to give even when they don't have kids themselves. And families often take it for granted. And I have read many posts about people feeling frustrated or financially stressed, even considering skipping family gatherings altogether. So one of my friends, she's single and feels precious to bring presents or cash to, everyday events. She has so many nieces and nephews, and they have so many birthday parties and Children's Day and Christmas parties. So she felt like it's too much for me. They ask so much to her. And I also remember feeling the same way before I had children, when my niece wanted something quite expensive and big. The gift felt like a real burden to me as well. And every year I have struggled over what to get. What kind of present does she want? And on Children's Day or Christmas as well. So now, though, it feels a little bit formal between us, but we share a single gift list for my niece and my child as well, which helps my grandparents and me know exactly what she would like for that particular day. Everyone is happy for that. So boundaries aren't rude, they are actually practical. Indeed.
So do you look over the list? So when your kid suggests, like, ask for something, do you step in and kind of interfere?
Yes, of course. Depending on the price he or she suggests, I judge them. I ask them, why don't you decide another one a little bit cheap? Yes.
Just out of curiosity, what's like a good price limit?
I think it depends on the day. If it's a birthday, I pay more. But when it comes to Christmas, you get more presents from many people. I have a practical reason for that.
I feel like sharing these lists it's so practical, and
yes,
definitely will decrease conflicts that could possibly happen. And all of this really shows how family dynamics are shifting. Like in the past, when everyone had children, things felt more balanced. But now with more people choosing not to marry or have kids, the expectations can feel a bit one-sided. And of course, that's not the only source of tension. So what are some of the other kinds of disputes that tend to come up during the holidays, Kyun?
So conflicts among siblings are also quite common these days, especially over issues such as supporting their parents and dividing property. Now, this is somewhat more relatable to our parents' generation as their parents leave behind inheritance when their time is almost up. So, and this comes also with paying high inheritance tax, which can also become a big burden. Even though they're actually receiving the asset, they have to pay back so much inheritance tax here in Korea. In fact, during last year's Chuseok, there was an incident where a man in his 70s, not a 7-year-old, a man in his 70s attacked his younger brother who was in his 60s during a dispute over parental care, who is more responsible to take care of their parents. Now, conflicts also arise between parents and children, and of course between spouses, and even among relatives, because I guess they're together for such a long time, and like when it starts off being very happy and all jolly, but then things can become a little personal when you're actually together for such a long time, and that's when conflicts arise, and then it's disaster from that moment on. So with my family, we always have this kind of 3-hour rule. After 3 hours, we would start arguing, and I would say, I think 3 hours is up. I think it's time for me to leave. And everyone just would laugh. But then we all know we should keep our boundaries, but then it's not easy to do that when you're with someone for such a long time, especially during Chuseok holiday.
I think it's because you're so comfortable with your family.
Exactly.
Now, I think that story you shared also shows how serious family disputes can get. And what really stands out to me is that these conflicts often stem from issues that do cut deep, things like caring for aging parents or dividing up property. And because those matters are so closely tied to responsibility and fairness within the family, it's no surprise that they can feel so personal and that arguments can become really heated. So this brings us to the bigger question. So Jiyeon, what are the underlying reasons that make these family tensions surface, especially at times when we're supposed to be celebrating together?
That is right. It's underlying reasons. Family conflicts during holiday often arise simply because everyone gathers. They meet up each other in one place at the same time. So during each holiday, during Chuseok especially, families prepare food, perform ancestral rites, and visit graves, sharing intense time all together. This closeness can easily spark tensions or bring out underlying disagreements. Numbers show that divorce cases in Korea go up after major holidays, especially in South Korea. On top of that, long journeys, traffic jams, and the pressure of gift giving or spending money all add up together, all add another layer of stress. Differences between generations about values, parenting, or money can also cause arguments that stay quiet most of the year but come out at the holiday table. So in short, Chuseok is supposed to be about harmony, as you mentioned, but sometimes it's more like a pressure cooker than a harvest feast.
Well said. The holidays, especially in countries like Korea, where culture is deeply rooted in Confucianism, involved so many structured activities like performing rituals, sharing meals, visiting ancestors, engaging in family conversations. So while all of this sounds pleasant, it also creates plenty of opportunities for complaints or tensions to surface. So which brings up another point. The types of family members involved in the disputes are evolving too. So how did things look in the past compared to now, Jiyeon?
Well, in the past, holiday conflicts were mostly between in-laws or daughter-in-law, mother-in-laws, or between husbands and wives. But traditional gender roles and the heavy workload that you have on holiday for women especially created plenty of hidden frustration and stress for them. Big family gatherings also meant long hours in the kitchen, strict rituals, and little rest for them, a recipe for tension. However, these days today, with more equal gender roles, catering options, quite good, and smaller households, those classic disputes have eased for changed shape. So families now see in-laws less often and have less formal traditions, which has further reduced the old-style frictions. At our in-law meetups, or when we have some gatherings, family gatherings, my mother-in-law even brings some burgers and triangle kimbap for Chuseok holiday. And these days, the biggest fight at Chuseok might just be, you know, who's going to eat the last slice of songpyeon.
That's really woke and very sensible of her to do that.
I know, I know.
So what do the other family members usually bring then?
In fact, nothing.
She's the one who prepares the food.
Yeah, sometimes we bring cash, you know, the thing that she loves. So the cash will be good for her.
So everyone's very practical. That's really smart.
Yes.
But I think that kind of reminds me, I have a friend that works at a hospital, and he was saying how there's so many people, women especially, that come to the hospital even before the Chuseok holidays because they get stressed about the upcoming holiday season.
Pre-holiday syndrome.
So hopefully there are more mother-in-laws like your mother-in-law.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
So it seems like things are changing. So conflicts between couples have decreased and tensions with in-laws aren't as common, probably because relationships aren't as close or visits so frequent as they used to be. So how's the way we interact with extended relative change, and what kind of tensions used to come up there, Kim?
So in the past, a lot of relatives, even your second cousins, third cousins, will all gather. It's called the 큰집, big house, usually the house of the first son or the first parents. So when everyone gathered, you know, they will become very curious of each other, especially your uncles and aunties would ask you, so like, are you thinking of marriage? You know, have you got a job? If you're looking for a job, they'll be like, what kind of job are you looking for? Don't you need to lose some weight if you gain weight? And although it may seem like they're actually showing care and affection, younger generations feel very precious and even intrusive when relatives ask these kind of personal questions. And in the past, you know, they would just say, oh, no, I'm doing well, but then they would actually get stressed deep inside. Nowadays, things have changed. They actually express that they feel very offended and they don't want to actually answer all those kind of personal questions. And nowadays, thanks to the shift toward like nuclear families, meaning that people only have like one children, I think the conflicts have really reduced because there are less kids to compare. Talking about comparison, I think a lot of relatives used to compare a lot with their children to other children, their nieces and nephews, and I think that's where all the problem arises from. When you start comparing people, you know, it's not really helpful for the younger people because they don't like to be compared. And even if they did the same thing to their uncles and aunties, they would feel very offended as well. So I think reducing comparison can really alleviate a lot of things. But then in the past, I think it's embedded in the Korean culture. They like to compare things, compare people and say, he went to this company, what are you doing? You should be studying more, you know.
How do they know all these people?
They're very gossipy. They like to find out a lot of things about their neighbors as well. So, but nowadays things have really changed in a better way.
I think that's why people are admitting themselves to hospital before the Chuseok holiday.
Maybe.
So what do you think is driving these kinds of changes?
A lot of things. Family structures have changed, become more diverse compared to the past. In Korea, unlike in the 1990s, where typical family was perceived as like a four-person household, today, like I mentioned just before, single-person households take up the largest share. And with the rise of unmarried individuals, remarriages, and cohabiting families, new types of conflicts have actually emerged, such as between married and unmarried siblings, fairness issues like you talked about between biological children or even step-parents in remarried families, and the growing challenge of grandparents having to care for their grandchildren as dual-income households increase, and things like that.
So far we've looked at the kinds of conflicts that tend to arise during the holidays, what usually drives these tensions, and how the nature of these disputes has changed over time, from sibling rivalries to in-law tensions to challenges brought on by evolving family structures. It's clear that holiday gatherings bring a mix of joy and sometimes a bit of
stress for everyone involved. To get a better sense of what the public thinks about this, we asked viewers on the Arirang News YouTube channel a simple question: which family relationships do you think experience the most conflicts during the holidays? So let's see what they had to say on this. So when it comes to family conflicts, different relationships are affected in varying degrees apparently. So about 41% involve parents, followed by spouses at 29%, siblings at 19%, and other family members making up the remaining 11%. So interestingly, the poll shows parents and spouses at the top of the list, even though we just discussed that conflicts between couples and with parents have generally decreased compared to the past. So this might suggest that while traditional conflicts have lessened, modern pressures like caring for aging parents, coordinating schedules, or financial expectations still put parents and spouses in the spotlight during the holiday gatherings. And to also get a global perspective on this, we're going to talk to a young person from India who will give us insight into how families there handle holiday gatherings and whether similar conflicts arise. So that conversation will take right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
We're joined today by Nupur, who's studying Korea but is originally from India. So hi Nupur, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on this platform.
So do families in India usually get together for the holidays? If so, how large are these gatherings?
So in India, family or the close friends or the neighbors, they are like deeply connected. So we don't like just gather for the special occasion or just on the holidays. We can see each other on the normal days, birthdays, or just to have a meal together and a conversation on a normal evening. And holidays for us are like simply an extension of the closeness, I would say. So talking about the Chuseok in Korea, since it's coming soon. So Chuseok in Korea is more like a Korea's harvest festival or more like a Thanksgiving. So we have similar in India, the harvest festival. It is called like a Pongal or Makar Sankranti, and it differs from like the different states of India. They have a different names of this harvest festival. But when I talk in terms of the spirit of this festival, I think most of the people can connect with Diwali, Holi, Eid, and Christmas, where we have like a good amount of holidays. And it's not only these festivals, but we have like a lot of holidays and a lot of festivals in India. So family members, neighbors, childhood friends, we all like came together to make the celebrations happen. We eat together, and it's not like just like a private family event. It's more like a community gathering, I would say. So it's more like we don't have to like a plan. We don't have to schedule. That is what special, I would say, is a speciality in India, that we don't have to like put schedule in our calendars to meet the families or to have a gathering. Yes.
Lovely. Nupur, then what kinds of family conflicts tend to happen most often during the holidays in India?
Yeah, so conflicts are, I think they can happen anywhere, not only in India. I think in Korea also, or anywhere else in any country, because there are like a lot of people from different generation and different personalities. They are coming together, so everyone has their own perspective, I would say. So, but I think most of the ones which I think I can connect from experience is like sometimes elders want to have a very specific ritual in their own way, but youngsters wants to have a more freedom, new ways to, explore during a festivity or the holiday. At the same time, I think the most common one which we all can relate to is like some of our relatives, like they start comparing the children's achievement or the marriages, these kind of things, which can, spark the conflict or an argument, I would say. So I think these kind of things are very common, which we can see in India or in Korea. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. In your opinion, what's the best way to minimize conflicts between family members during holiday gatherings?
Yeah. So I think it's very my personal perspective, I would say, and it can differ person to person, like how to avoid the conflicts. But how I would suggest on my experience, it's more like to avoid the conflicts is like being very patient, respectful, and we need to be very mindful of our boundaries and others' boundaries as well. So I truly believe that, also at the same time, I truly believe that sharing the meals or cooking together can grow the love and can avoid the conflicts. And we also have a saying in India that if we eat together from the same plate, the love grows. So I think that is a very common thing which I would love to, follow to avoid any kind of conflicts, because after all, festivities and the holidays means like all the family, neighbor or the close friends coming together, spending time together, and making the bond more stronger, and we can have a very good connection. So I think, that I would love to follow.
I really appreciate that saying that you just shared with us, and also everything else you said as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So we just spoke to a young person from India, a country known for its rich family traditions and large multi-generation households. And it was fascinating to hear how these cultural norms influence the way families handle holiday gatherings and conflicts. And her perspective really showed us how cultural context shapes the way young people view family conflicts. And speaking of younger generations, how has the way young people see family conflicts changed over time, Jian?
Well, back in the days, we put loyalty, the bonds, ties between families were the thing, and we put those stuff first. But these days, many in the Gen Z push back against family pressure and obligations that older generations saw as normal. Yes, family is important indeed. So are you.
So what are your thoughts on this?
So I realize this as well. Many of my relatives, they don't actually turn up to these gatherings anymore. And it's like out of sight, out of mind. So people have actually stopped talking about them and saying, like, I guess, bad things for not turning up. So it's become very natural for them to not even be there, not be present.
Right.
So I think it's a big shift, and we just have to come to accept these changes.
I agree. So to wrap things up, Jian, what are some practical tips for handling family conflicts calmly and keeping the peace during the holidays, do you think?
Well, I think the best way is to talk honestly and don't intrude their bubbles, their boundaries. An open and honest conversation is still the best way to ease family tensions, and less pushing, more understanding, even at the dinner table.
Do you have any other advice?
I think just showing a lot of respect to each other, whether you're old or young, and just because you're family or related, it doesn't mean you can say personal things or ask personal questions. So just treat them like every other human being, and just keep each other's personal bubble to themselves.
I think these are all really good sound advice. So Chuseok unfortunately has come and gone, and with it full tables, family conversations, and even sometimes the inevitable disagreements. And with more people choosing not to marry, and with diverse family structures becoming more common, the kinds of disputes that we see today look very different from the past. So still, whether between parents and children, siblings, or extended relatives, the key really lies in empathy, communication, and respect. And if we choose kindness over judgment and communication over silence, we can turn conflicts into opportunities to strengthen our family ties for the next holiday season. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. We'll be returning next Monday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Chuhyun.
Thank you so much, Sijin.
Coming in, also Kyun.
Always a pleasure.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope you have the best weekend. We are
News Generation.
해금은 두 줄로 된 현악기인데 저도 처음에 시작하게 된 거는 그 두 줄에서 너무 다양한 소리가 나오는 게 너무 신기했고 일단 해금이 되게 사람의 목소리랑 좀 비슷하다고 많이들 하세요. 줄을 눌러서 이렇게 음을 계속 왔다 갔다 진동하는 그런 형태를 띠고 있다 보니까 애절하다라고 많이 말씀을 해주시는 것 같아요. 이 곡은 제가 좀 오래 좋아했던 친구에 대한 제 여러 감정을 담은 곡인데요. 슬펐던 마음, 혹은 뭐 고마웠던 마음, 이런 여러 가지 감정들을 한데 묶어서 마음이 담긴 곡이라고 할 수 있습니다. 현대적인 음악으로 이제 재구성하는 단계를 거칠 때 항상 중요하게 생각하는 거는 음악의 분위기를 해치지 않는 선에서는 뭔가 전통적인 주법들, 식임새, 이런 전통의 냄새라고 할까요? 맛? 이런 걸 살릴 수 있는 요소들을 좀 집어넣으려고 하는 편이에요. 저는 요새 연주하면서도 스스로가 마음도 편하고 몸도 편안한 음악들을 좀 자주 들려드리고 싶다. 제가 음악으로 위로받았던 것처럼 제가 하는 음악들로 여러분들이 좀 위로받을 수 있는 순간이 있었으면 좋겠다. 그런 무대를 만들려고 노력해야겠다라는 생각을 했던 것 같습니다.
나무